Welcome to Collector's Comlink, a transmission dedicated to general collecting both within and beyond the Star Wars universe. While most of this channel stays firmly rooted in a galaxy far, far away, this series gives us a chance to widen the scope, spotlighting different topics along with varying kinds of pop culture treasures and personal collectibles that tell a story of their own. And in this transmission, we're heading back to 1987 to a nightclub in Phoenix, Arizona, where the sand was artificial, but the nostalgia was very real. It's a story that starts on a deserted island and, somehow, ends up in my collection. Before we set sail on this memory, let's drop anchor for just a minute and talk about a man and cultural icon named Bob Denver. For some, that name might instantly bring to mind a red shirt, a white sailor's hat, and a whole lot of shipwrecked misadventures. But just in case it's been a while, or if you're new to classic television, let's take a moment to revisit who Bob Denver was and why he holds a meaningful place in both pop culture and my collection. In a galaxy a little closer to home, on Gilligan's planet to be exact, our story orbits a familiar figure from television history. Before he ever set foot on that not-so-deserted island, Bob Denver played the beatnik Maynard G. Krebs on The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, a role that made him a breakout star in the early 1960s. But it was Gilligan's Island, of course, that made him a household name. Premiering in 1964, the show followed 7 castaways stranded after a 3-hour tour gone wrong, and Bob Denver's wide-eyed, well-meaning Gilligan quickly became the heart of the series. Though critics were never kind to the show, it found an enduring second life in reruns, spin-offs, and even animated adaptations, including Gilligan's Planet, where the castaways somehow wound up marooned in outer space. Over the years, Denver remained closely tied to the role, embracing it with a kind of sincerity and humility that made fans love him all the more. And for those of us who grew up with him, the character he played wasn't just funny, he was familiar, like someone we already knew. And that brings us to the reason I've chosen to share this story. I met Bob Denver in the summer of 1987, not on an island and not in outer space, but at a nightclub in Phoenix, Arizona, called Studio West. That night, the club was throwing what it billed as a beach party, which was hosted by a local radio station. It was a themed event that was equal parts sand, sweat, and surreal nostalgia. People showed up in full beach attire, some wearing inflatable pool animals, others carrying surfboards and boogie boards, despite the complete lack of water. I remember it clearly because around that time, the Fat Boys had just released their cover of Wipeout, the classic Beach Boys hit. The radio station used it in all their promos for the party, and it was blasting on near-continuous repeat over the event speakers while we waited in line to get in. I don't have any photographs from that night. This was back in the days of film cameras, and nobody really wanted to lug one around during what was essentially a Saturday night party. That being said, I didn't actually meet Bob Denver inside the club. I met him in the parking lot about 4 hours before the event started. My friends and I had shown up early to make sure we could snag a good parking spot. The area around Studio West had a bunch of restaurants, bars, and little shops, so the plan was to hang out nearby and kill some time until it was time to head in. But as luck would have it, Bob Denver was already there, just outside the entrance, signing autographs and dressed head to toe as Gilligan. Red shirt, white hat, the whole look. It was both hilarious and kind of perfect. I hadn't brought anything for him to sign as I wasn't expecting to meet him, even though we knew he was going to be hosting the event. But the radio station had these little branded notepads on hand, and that's what he was signing for people. I walked up, shook his hand, and just asked if I could have his autograph. And here it is. It's just a small slip of paper, but I held on to it, and over time I realized it meant more to me than I expected. Within the last year, I decided to do it justice. I had the autograph professionally framed with a clean mat and museum glass. Nothing over the top, just classic and tasteful. And right beside it, I mounted a full-color photo of Bob Denver in full Gilligan gear, complete with the Gilligan's Island logo. Together they make a really striking piece, simple, nostalgic, and a perfect reminder of that unexpected, weirdly wonderful night. These days it hangs just above my desk, right alongside a couple of Star Wars pieces. It's more than just an autograph. It's a snapshot of my childhood. It brings back the laughter, the memories, and the sense of wonder that came with growing up in a world full of adventure, both real and imagined. And every time I glance over, I can't help but smile at that classic Gilligan expression. Wide-eyed, goofy, and completely endearing. It's like Bob Denver is still managing to sneak in one more laugh, even all these years later. In a way, that little framed piece isn't just memorabilia. It's a moment, a reminder that sometimes the best parts of collecting aren't about rarity or value, but about the stories we get to carry with us, stories that surprise us, stick with us, and maybe, just maybe, make us laugh every time we look up. Thanks for tuning into this transmission from the Galaxy of Collecting. I'll see you next time.